Welcome to Passport Required. I'm Kim Covert, owner and lead travel designer at Silverleaf Travel.
And I'm Gary Covert. Together, we are on a mission to help experienced travelers and would-be travelers get even more informed, inspired, and get moving so that they can enjoy great travel experiences and make memories that will last.
We believe that travel offers so many opportunities to improve the quality of our lives. Travel helps us learn more about the world, ourselves, and those closest to us. It keeps us vibrant, fresh, and connected, and travel helps us celebrate life.
We invite you to join the Silverleaf Travel Facebook page so that we can amplify our impact and help people get off of and stay off of what we'd like to call Someday Island.
We know you're going to love this episode, so let's get after it. Welcome to Passport Required. I'm Kim Covert.
And I'm Gary Covert.
We have another exciting episode. Today we are recapping our recent cruise on Windstar Cruise Line. Technically, Italy and Croatia. We'll get more into that.
Yes.
So we just did this in January of 2025. Mm-hmm. Caveat, we did not choose this. This was an award trip. So yes, Italy in January. Yes.
It was actually a blessing in disguise.
100%.
So Kim is being super, humble. Kim's being humble. She has done so well in her travel organization that this was part of a reward trip. So only the best of the best were invited to this cruise. This cruise, however, this reward cruise was a winter Italy and Croatia cruise on Windstar. So it was in January, but it was in Italy. We went from Venice to scheduled was to Zadar and then Dubrovnik. And then this is going clockwise. So you would go to southern Italy through Messina and then get out on the other side, the western side of Italy, and went through Naples and Rome. So a nice counterclockwise, a wonderful, wonderful itinerary. Key point that we're going to touch a little bit about some of the locations that we went to, but the main point of today's episode is for us to talk about the pros and cons of winter travel. Mm-hmm. So people talk about like high season and maybe shoulder season. Mm-hmm. This is kind of elbow season.
No, this is so off season.
Yeah, this is very off season. What they call like off Broadway. This was off season. So we want to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of that. But first, let's just kind of maybe hit the highlights of some of the things about our trip.
Well, the pro is Windstar Cruises. I mean, they're a beautiful cruise line, and our yacht only holds like 315 people. Low season, obviously, there was probably, I think, 125 of us total on board. So very intimate, easy to navigate. The cabins are just beautiful. I mean, I think this is like our favorite cabin layout on a lot of the cruise lines that we go on.
Yeah, you have an awful lot of room. We've have been on a couple cruises, and you just kind of get in there. It's like, well, where the heck does all my stuff go?
This just has a great layout, and this is just a standard ocean view cabin.
Standard ocean view cabin.
Walk-in closet, beautiful bathroom with 2 vanities. The room is just so comfortable, and you don't miss having a balcony, honestly, which I'm a big balcony fan. This was just so comfortable and easy to walk around. We were kind of midship. You got out, you walked maybe 200 yards, and you're in the bar.
Exactly.
You're in the lounge. It was so easy.
We were kind of midship, but I think any point on that cruise would have been a great place to be. A thing to keep in mind, though, is if you're forward, and this is true of any ship, if you're very far forward, you get a lot more wave action there. So if you're sensitive to that, then you want to be in the middle.
Yeah. And it's a small ship. So, I mean, we felt it more than we do on the bigger ships. Not tremendously so. I mean, the weather wasn't terrible, but you definitely can feel a little bit more on the smaller ships.
I personally like the smaller ships. You like a little bit of the larger ships, but I'd say for this particular trip we've done, and we've taken this sister ship in French Polynesia, which is a wonderful one. I'd encourage everybody to do that one. A wonderful, wonderful trip. and a good size ship for that locale.
Perfect size.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed the smaller ship. And I would say one other thing I'd say before we kind of move into the pros and cons of winter travel is I really felt like the food was exceptional on this one. I really enjoyed and was looking forward to going to the main dining room. I really felt like the main dining room was really kind of, I look forward to it. It was kind of weird. That's not usually the case for me.
Not normal. Yeah.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed the food.
I was just excited for you just to experience Italy. I've been there a couple times. It's one of my favorite European countries. I love Italy.
So let's do a little Italian gushing just for a little bit. So we had a really stellar time. We came in a day or two earlier to Venice and really enjoyed that city. And then from there, man, it was just wonderful, you know.
Just from the moment we got there,
yes,
you just felt welcomed, and it's comfortable, and it's beautiful, and
so unlike any location you've ever been. It is an island that is you travel around through the canals or walk over the canals, you know, but it's either on boat or by foot primarily. And we really had a good experience. You got to say private transfer from the airport. Captain Tommy picked us up in a killer little taxi, a water taxi with
it's a little boat
with white leather seats and everything. It looked super Tony. You know, we really enjoyed it. So that was just fun, just even to do that. Something like that was kind of pedestrian. And this does relate to this whole theme of whether the pros and cons of winter travel. So I think in general, the pros outweigh the cons. And I think in this particular city, I think that's really the case because it's just
so predominant.
Yeah. My dad, I think I shared this with you. He said that he had been there 3 times. And the last time he went, he said he would never go back just because of the crowds. It was just so crowded. And he couldn't get around. And I can totally see that because it's all narrow streets, narrow bridges, certain ways to get to big places, and that's about it. So I can see, you know, it's kind of like a big IKEA. There's
one way.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. It can be just not a lot of fun. I could see that. But for us, I really felt like we had the place to ourselves.
100%. I mean, I posted some photos and I took a picture of a big area of this courtyard, and there's normally hundreds of people. There was not one person there in the courtyard with us. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So cool.
I really felt like Venice in particular, we were able to see with no obstructions, walk anywhere we wanted to go. Didn't have any big deal, except for one area that got very crowded, which was the Rialto Bridge. It's one of the 2 bridges that goes across the Grand Canal. And that place seemed to get a little tight. And I was like, where did all these people come from? It's like, why are they in my Venice? It's like,
it was all the shops that were open.
Right. But besides that, it was very, very comfortable to be there and wander around. I really felt like we had a good experience there, and which seems to be different than a lot of people that we've talked to who have gone to Venice recently, and they mentioned that the crowds are just oppressive.
Yeah, I can't even imagine going there in peak season in the summer. Hot, crowded, no thank you. Yeah, so as we talked about, we started off in Venice.
Yeah.
So we landed, and I had never been to Venice. I've been to other places in Italy, and we had pre-scheduled arrival transfer by this water bus or water taxi, I mean, and I had no idea what to expect, and it was the coolest thing. So it is quite of a walk from the terminal out to where the water taxis are. So managed that. And then Captain Tommy was there to get us. But we were at night. It was like 9 o'clock at night or whatever. It was dark.
Notice how she can really remember his name. So out of the fog, this good-looking guy with a boat, you know, is just waiting for Kim. And, you know, can I take your bag? So, you know, Captain Suave, Captain Tommy Suave.
Sounds jealous. Wow.
Whatever. Yeah.
Anyway, so we got in the water taxi. but it was kind of eerie because it was foggy and it was dark and it was, we didn't never seen this before. And it was such a great experience though.
I think that was a great way to experience it because you didn't get the immediate reveal. It was all in the dark. So you're going through the canals and the windows are foggy. It's raining a little bit and very mysterious. That was a great introduction. And water taxis are the way to go. They're so much fun. They're so pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very comfortable.
Yeah.
So we stayed.
And private.
Yeah.
Private.
Yeah. Private. Just the two of us. And then we got dropped off when we found our hotel. We had this beautiful hotel kind of tucked away. And we had a welcome cocktail, so we got to know the bartender really well for the first night.
Yeah. It's so friendly, and the bar wasn't crowded. I think this is kind of the theme here. There were, he had time to talk, and didn't seem like there were a lot of guests in the hotel. And he made me a very nice amaretto sour.
Yeah,
I was very excited about. And that was a great hotel that you found. I don't think it was the most convenient.
It depends
for
on the
some
client.
people.
So this is why we
you always
things.
say that.
Yeah, just depends. I mean, if you're adventurous and can figure out directions and follow your GPS and can walk, yes. But we had to go over a bridge. We had to go through these alleys to find this hotel. It wasn't literally on the canal.
Yeah.
So for some of my less mobile clients, I would probably put them on a hotel right on the canal. So you're dropped off and you just walk in.
It was a nice
little the adventure.
It added to the adventure.
Yeah.
So if your traveling companion has a superpower, which is navigation, and is strong enough to carry her own bags, you're good to go. But that was a ton of fun. And then from there, we got on the ship, and we actually had, because of some weather delays, it got fogged in. We had an extra day to kind of mess around in Venice. But Venice is wonderful, but we were there when there was not a ton of people, and
it wasn't that cold. I mean, it was foggy. It was a little drizzly one day, but we had a down jacket on one day.
Yeah. We didn't really know how to prepare, so we prepared with layers. I insisted Kim buy a rain jacket that could then go over what we call puffy jackets. So we had, vests and then a heavier jacket and then rain jackets. And
so
any combination of those three things, I don't think we wore them all three. Maybe one day. That was that one super cold day. We're talking about winter Italy. We're not talking winter Norway.
Yeah,
so exactly. It seemed to be very doable and comfortable with, variety of
and
layers.
we come from Phoenix, Arizona, where it never gets very cold. So we had to go out buy stuff, a sweater and jacket. But I think people who are from the Midwest or the Northeast or whatever, this would be very comfortable.
Very mild.
Because it just wasn't that cold. I mean, maybe in the 50s, maybe like in the 40s at night. It wasn't terrible at all.
Yeah. And then from there, we went to a cool little city called Dubrovnik. We sailed across to Dubrovnik. We had to skip Zadar.
I know.
Because of weather, they just changed the itinerary a little bit. So we instead of having 2 stops in Croatia, we had 1 stop in Croatia. But Dubrovnik is a super popular destination these days. Everybody knows of it through Game of Thrones. They did a lot of their filming there, and people like to tour the castle and the old town and things like that. And it has started to get a reputation for being crowded, and we found it to not be so.
Oh my God, there was nobody.
One of the more fun things that we did there was to do the wall walk, which was you walk around the entirety of the old city along its walls. And that was just beautiful because you're high up.
Yeah.
A lot of stairs. But that was wonderful. And that took us about an hour to do. And we didn't pass anybody, and nobody passed us.
Nope. Not one single person.
Yeah. The only being that we ran into was this cat.
The cat that followed us.
Exactly.
And the people that were in the booth checking tickets every once in a while. And it would scare us because we walk past like a window and we hear, "Excuse me."
Yeah. Hello. It's like just who's talking?
He's like, "We need to see your ticket." And we're like, "Oh, okay."
I didn't know it was up here, just us. But
these walls were from like the 12th century. They're original. Yep. And it's beautiful. And it gives you a great perspective of the city, the old town of Dubrovnik. Oh, it's so pretty.
Yep.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that Croatia had been involved in a war, maybe
in 1991.
1991, 92, and between Bosnia and Croatia. So really interesting as we're going through the city, lots of signs about all the damage. So there's this old town, and one of the maps, they map out in minute detail, like where all the shells fell. There's like 3,000. Am I right on that?
Yeah, I think
3,000 shells fell on this city. So it's just awful. So
this is only 30 years ago. I mean, this is not World War II. This was 1991.
Yeah. And
Amazing.
Completely rebuilt. But then you can see from the walls, and you got to be an expert at this, which was the reconstructed based on the color of the tiles. The newer, brighter, shinier looking tiles were ones that had been reconstructed, and the older ones that had patina on them were obviously the still old ones.
The original. So it was just such a cool city to walk around.
Yeah. And we did some wine tasting. We did an excursion from there. And
of course we did.
Went to a nice little winery down the street, which was wonderful. Nice little family.
Yeah.
So anyway, beautiful.
Yeah, we'll definitely be going back to Croatia. 100%.
Yeah.
So. And then we had a day at sea, which was really nice. And then we went to Messina, Italy, which is Sicily. I've heard very different opinions of Sicily, so it was good to experience it on our own.
I felt like we got a taste of Sicily. So Messina is right in the Straits of Messina. It's between Sicily and mainland Italy. And we had a really wonderful tour guide who took us around for the day. Really got to know the city pretty well. In the short time we were there. Don't know that I can say I know Sicily, but I do know Messina.
It was such a small part of all of Sicily. Really interesting. It was like kind of gritty, but obviously historical, obviously had a lot of trauma between the wars and the earthquakes.
Yeah, the earthquake in 1909 leveled the place, destroyed big chunks of the city. And then this was a major staging area for the Allies to push back into Italy. So obviously the Nazis didn't give it up easily. So it was bombed, and then, all sorts of things were going on. So it suffered during World War II quite a bit. So it is kind of a gritty seaside city.
It is, but
I can see the charm.
It's just a really fascinating little area.
And it was nice to see the different perspective, because the Sicilians, even though they're right there, they're very northern Sicily, are Sicilian. They don't think of themselves as Italian overtly. Not first. I'm sure they are Italian. They got Italian passports, but that's not the first thing they think of. It's like, where are you from? I'm from Sicily.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
And such nice people. That was a good stop. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And then our next stop was Naples.
Yes.
So kind of twofold. So we stopped in Naples, but Gary and I hopped on a tour to go out to Pompeii.
Yeah.
I had done this with my girlfriend before the pandemic. And I remember when we signed up, I was like, I don't really want to see.
I don't really history, a lot of old buildings,
and,
blah, blah, blah.
Buried and whatever.
Kind of depressing, right?
I was floored. I was so amazed by this city. So when we had this opportunity to go back to Naples, I'm like, Gary, we got to do this. I mean, I got to show you Pompeii. So you say how you felt about seeing it.
It's just overwhelmed. We have, like everybody else on their iPhones, we have a step tracker. And so we would be interested in like how many steps we had. So we had a lot of steps in Venice, but we had our most steps on the day that we went to Pompeii. Like it was 15,000 steps or something. It was a lot. I was just overwhelmed by the magnitude of this place. It's just so big. It was a town of like 35,000, 40,000. It is big. And it's perfectly preserved, and it's all been excavated, over the decades. And it's an entire city. You're not going to a museum. You're going to a city. And just imagine your town, and it's been uncovered, and you're just walking around Main Street, and, where's the shopping district, and where's the supermarkets? And then all the Roman engineering
wasn't that just crazy?
This is,
basically plumbed water.
2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
2,200 years ago.
Water cisterns and a whole system.
And they had
and
They had running water to all the homes. They had sewer systems. They had sidewalks. They thought of everything.
Mhm.
And it was just
So
so
crazy.
we think that we're advanced
Mind-boggling.
now and we're just kidding ourselves.
And then the painting, the frescoes.
Yes. So
Beyond.
we were so lucky because one particular house had been closed for decades
Mhm.
and they had just recently finished their renovations and reopened it. And the paintings in there, the murals, I think accurately, the murals were just the colors, number one, were just so vibrant. But the sophistication of that artist who
Mhm.
painted those, I mean, you think that you're going to look at stick figures or something because it's like 2,000 years ago, but it was as sophisticated as something you would see in Enlightenment paintings. I was so blown away. So definitely put on your walking shoes, go out to Pompeii, go see that. I mean, it's definitely worth it. There's so we were exhausted, but there
It was
was
so worth it. It was so
so
amazing.
worth it, just to see the scale of what the Roman Empire was. And this is one average city in the Roman Empire. Like, are you kidding me? Impressive.
So that was a great day in Pompeii. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that you could see that and experience it.
Yeah. And then we just entertained ourselves by wandering around Naples.
What did we have in Naples?
We had the pizza.
The pizza that was invented in Naples.
Listen to this girl. She sounds like Mario. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, fun fact. One of these times you're going to hear Kimberly speaking Italian
Yeah.
on the podcast because she has been so enamored of Italy that she is practicing her Italian.
I'm trying.
Going to be wonderful.
Long way to go.
Yeah. She keeps saying, Captain Tommy, Captain Tommy. Anyway, so Naples is a nice city. I don't know that we really experienced enough to really say that we know Naples at all, but we wandered around, had a really nice lunch, a beautiful day. The cruise ship is not that far from central Naples.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we made our way to
Roma. That's where we ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you go to Rome, you stop in a port city called Civitavecchia. I'm going to butcher that.
Civitavecchia.
The main point is not so much the name of the place, as the fact is that you are not in Rome. You're in a town that is outside of Rome by what was it, hour and a half by private car.
Hour and 20, yeah.
Yeah. So there's no reason to stay there. So once you get off, keep on trucking. Just all roads lead to Rome. You should just stay on that road and get yourself to Rome as quick as you can. So there's nothing waiting for you there. It's just a port city, and just keep on going. So Kim arranged a private driver to take us there, like Mercedes or BMW. It's very comfortable, and just took us right into the heart of the city. And bada bing, bada boom. We're in Rome.
When in Rome, yeah. So, and I knew our room wasn't going to be ready. So we walked around a little bit, kind of got our bearings, walked by the Trevi Fountain. And I couldn't believe it that we could actually see the Trevi Fountain. It was kind of blocked off more so than it normally is because it's the year of the Jubilee.
There were some little barricades.
Yeah. So you couldn't get so close, but literally you can walk up and take pictures and videos. And I mean, there were people, but I can't imagine how that is.
Yeah. So Trevi Fountains is in a plaza that is not huge.
It's
so
tight.
It's a little tight. So it didn't take a lot of people to make a crowd in there. And when we got there, and it wasn't a long walk from our hotel, and when we got there, there were some people, but enough to make it colorful.
Yeah. So we just walked around and kind of just got our steps in, got some lunch. What do we have for lunch? Pizza.
We had the pizza. Yep.
And in the afternoon, I just booked for a golf cart tour of Rome.
This is a must do.
It was so fun because I'm thinking, God, the city's big. I've been here before. There's a lot to see. The weather might be questionable in January.
Yep.
Let's try to do this. We can see a lot in a little time without a lot of effort.
Yes.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
The tour guide was amazing.
Our tour guide was aptly named Julius.
Yes, like Caesar.
Yeah.
Julius Caesar.
Yeah. And it was great. And it was just us. Oh, this is probably another thing. It's like this is normally a group tour. It wasn't a private tour, but because nobody else was there, it was a de facto private tour. So we're able to enjoy that. But I think the golf cart tour, it sounds goofy, but it is a must do because Rome is big and spread out. It's very accessible. You can walk anywhere in Rome. It's just a matter of distance. But it's big. It's spread out. You know, the Trevi Fountain is far from the Colosseum, which is far from the Vatican. So I mean, these things are a little spread out, doable, but you know, how many hours do you want to take just walking? This was great for me because we could see all the highlights. We saw every little bit of the main things you'd see. We didn't go into any of them, but you could see the things you wanted to see, and it really helped me with geography to kind of like, oh, that plaza's there, this thing's there. It's a really good thing to do.
And for you, the history, because you're a big history buff, very interested in it. And so you and the tour guide, who was born and raised in Rome, had such a great dialogue about all the different history, decades and changes of power. And it was fascinating to hear you guys talk.
And I'll spare you the answer, but one of the best discussions we had is who was the best emperor and who was the worst emperor.
Yeah, that was a great question.
Of the Roman Empire. And
so it was a good taste of seeing everything, you know,
100%.
to see. And we had a lot of other things planned for the week. Yeah. But that was a good little taste and not have to
and then
make a lot of effort.
That gave us confidence to continue to explore on our own. And now we know the neighborhoods and we know this and we want to go here. And that was a wonderful way to get oriented to doing that. The next day was bright and early. What did we do?
We went to the Vatican, which was also the Sistine Chapel and St. Peter's Basilica. Early morning.
Yes. Yeah, that was great. Maybe it's possible to do it on your own and just walk up to get in the line and figure out where you're going to go. But there's just a mob of people. So this is still winter in Italy and is supposedly less. But right out of the gate, and we got there early, there's a ton of people already there. So I don't know that I would have the confidence to stand in that line and get to the ticket window.
Nope.
Because I would prefer to do it with a professional who knows what they're doing and has all the tickets already bought and that sort of thing. So that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, there's two ways to do it. You can get tickets where you can get in before the public, and those are a little harder to come by and not as many, of course. Or what we did is like literally you get in the moment the doors opened at, I think it was 8 a.m. And so then it's not so crowded, and it really wasn't that crowded. Yeah, I mean, obviously we were off season, but it was really comfortable, and we had a great tour guide that was American. So she was so cute. Yeah. And we went through the Sistine Chapel, which I wish we could spend more time. That was just epic, and you can't take photos or anything in there. And then the museums, and you see the rugs, and you see the artwork and the sculptures, and so it's a lot. It's a lot. But my favorite was the end when we went to St. Peter's Basilica, and I'm not a overly religious person. I was so moved. I was tearing up, like I was crying. Like this basilica, this church is just on another scale. We've gone through Europe and seen so many churches. This was just on another scale, and it's overwhelming. I just kept saying that this is overwhelming. This is just so much.
I think that
so
was
beautiful.
The most common word we heard, which was overwhelmed. It's just, it is on a different scale. And so much, there's history, but I don't know if this phrase will make sense or not. There's also a lot of now, because you would see people that were devoted Catholics coming in there, and they're either part of a pilgrimage or this has real meaning to them. They were coming to see their church and see their mass. And I was moved as well by the art, by the scale, by the people. There's just a lot of devout people that were there, and that was moving. One fun thing we were able to do, or novel thing we were able to experience, was going through the Holy Door. And this is a door that only is open, my understanding, every 25 years for this Jubilee. And that's when they open it, and then the devoted go through this particular door and then there's a blessing on you that absolves you of your sins.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you believe that or not, it felt moving.
We walked through it and you kind of felt it.
Yeah.
And people were touching the door. It's only open every 25 years. And we happened to be there the year of the Jubilee.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was special.
Yeah. It felt special. And then, like you said, just the scale of it. As soon as we walked in, you could see the altar. It feels like it's a quarter mile away. It's like out in the distance, the high altar. And I said, Kim, look at that. There's a guy lighting a candle up there. And the scale,
like
and he looked like it was so small. It's like, are you kidding me? So I know that that's on everybody's list to go to the Vatican. Certainly.
100%.
Yeah. So we did that. That was a good long day. We're pretty tuckered out from that, but
then we had a food tour that night.
That's right. That's right.
Kind of back in the same area.
Right. So that was nice. You experienced the history, and then we did that food tour. Food tour was good, and just kind of see what the nightlife was about. What's nighttime Rome like? What do Romans do? So that was wonderful. So we had a really good time there. And then the next day, you had scheduled for us to go where?
Oh, well, I'm going to massacre this.
You get it out of your system.
Montepulciano.
Yes, that sounds pretty good.
So the Tuscany region.
Montepulciano is a hill town in the Tuscan region, and we went wine tasting there. And
of course.
Yeah. Great experience there. Just great food, great wine, great experience. No churches in sight.
Well, we did have churches, but
chapel,
a few,
ones, but
compared to hilltop villages and these green rolling hills, and you're out in the countryside, you get out of the city, and
it's not that far. It only took us like by bus, and we're on a larger bus with a bunch of people. It took about an hour and a half to get there. Is that right?
But to get out of the city was like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
to get out of Rome, and then you're out in the country.
That surprised me. Pretty. You're in an agricultural area pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, it's beautiful out there. You may have seen it and not known you have seen it based on a lot of movies being filmed there and romantic things being filmed there. And then the other little hilltop town they took us through was Pienza.
That was so charming.
Yeah. So Montepulciano is beautiful, but Pienza is also just charming and just made me want to go to, it's like, how many of these little hill towns do you have? And how much wine and prosciutto can we consume?
Not enough.
Right. Just not enough days. So unfortunately, all good things had to come to an end. We ended our adventures in Italy with that day, and then we got back to Rome and got on our flight from Rome and came home.
So sad.
That's just a very high-level view of kind of our itinerary, but really we wanted to bring home the concepts of the pros and cons of winter travel and run through that. So kind of on the pros level, and chime in, obviously the few crowds. I wouldn't say zero.
No.
But much fewer. And I could see I get really irritated by crowds. I think most people do. I could see that would be a diminished experience if it was full of people.
Yeah, I don't think I would have gone to as many places had there been the crowds that you see in the summertime.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have done the wall walk into Dubrovnik because
I might have been terrified I was going to get knocked off by some dummy.
It's not like in the United States where there's no, gates and fences or whatever. So, you're up on this hill.
There are real falling hazards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in Venice, I think I would have been so frustrated with the crowds. And you know me, I'm like, I just won't go. I don't want to go there because there's too many people and I'm done. So this way we got to experience a lot like St. Mark's Square and everything. And there was just nobody there. It was very enjoyable.
The other thing is kind of obvious, but it wasn't blazing hot. So you can always put on another thermal. You can always put on another jacket. You can wear a hat or a scarf. But, the opposite is not true. There's only so many clothes you can take off and not get arrested. So I was very comfortable the entire time we were there. We're, some places we've gone in summer or summer-ish. And that can be kind of hot. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I just want to get back to my hotel room or get back to the cruise ship or whatever. But we never experienced that once.
Nope.
Yeah. The other thing I had on my list was that businesses that are open appreciate you.
Very.
And I would also include the tour operators themselves.
Yeah, they really appreciated the business. And there wasn't as many tour options. I guess it would be kind of a con. But the tour operators that were working were really appreciative to have the business. And they did a really, really good job.
They seem to be enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
I heard it from more than one of them that they really liked the winter season because it wasn't so crowded and because they themselves were comfortable.
Yeah, they could talk a little bit more, and it just felt like very, very comfortable.
Yeah, when we were around with Julius, is that his name? Julius in the golf cart. I really felt like we're just riding around with a young new friend.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it was just
hang out at a bar with them. Yeah,
so comfortable. Yeah, we should have bought him a drink.
We should have for all that 3 hours of talking.
Right. The other thing, and this is more in your wheelhouse, so maybe you speak to it, is the costs.
Yeah, it was definitely more affordable. The cruise is less expensive, but the hotels were less expensive. I don't know if the food and everything was less expensive, but definitely the hotels were cheaper than summertime. And it was hard to keep in mind that it's also the year of the Jubilee. So everything's a little bit more expensive in Italy, and not just Rome. So.
Yeah, excellent. And then any other pros on there before I segue over to some of the cons on my list?
The wines are good.
I think those are constant
everywhere. The food.
Those are, so all the things that you would love are still in abundance.
Still there.
Wine, pizza, prosciutto, every kind of salami you want.
We didn't starve. We didn't have a lack of finding things to buy. We didn't have a lack of things to see. Of course, not everything was open, but there's so many pros. You know?
So on the cons, we'll just kind of go through those real quick. So some things were not open. Some restaurants were not open. Just for example, we had gotten a recommendation from one of Kim's clients. Hey, if you're in Dubrovnik, you've got to go to this restaurant. Michelin star restaurant. It was closed.
It was closed for the winter.
Yeah, because they work so hard during the year. I think a lot of the operators take this as their vacation time. So there was that thing, and then I would say probably just observing, maybe 20 or 30% of like the souvenir stores seemed to be closed. I think most of them were open. Another thing that was closed in Dubrovnik was the gondola. There's a tram that goes up by wire up to the top of the hill above the city, and that was closed. So there's going to be some things, that are not open.
But we still saw a lot, so.
Yeah. The other thing that I personally missed, I don't know if this is important to anybody else, but I did miss the experience of dining al fresco.
Oh,
I did kind of like sitting outside under a umbrella on the sidewalk and having that kind of experience, but that was not to be at that time.
No.
The other thing I would say is that just notice that your daylight is going to be less. Your days are going to be a little bit shorter. So just got to get your stuff done quickly. The days might be a little dreary. I'd say it probably wouldn't like the most beautiful thing, but just seeing things in the fog is a different kind of beauty, I guess. Certainly Venice was still a beautiful city.
Different perspective.
Yeah,
Sure.
those a little cloudy. And then you just might miss out on some festivals or things like that might be going on. So, I mean, that's my list of cons, which seems longer, but I think they're as far outweighed by the pros. So I'm a huge fan. I'm a convert. You want to go to Italy in winter or maybe other locations, other well-loved locations. Maybe the same is true of like
Barcelona.
Barcelona. Barcelona is the one that's getting a lot of some of these other
Portugal.
Overloved places.
Maybe. I mean, we got really lucky with the weather. I mean, had it been raining every day or 30 degrees every day, if it happens, I don't know if we would have the same feeling, but we just really got lucky with everything.
Yeah.
And it was just a great experience. Great cruise line, great locations.
So just overall impression for Gary, I think that this is just a really A+ itinerary. I love Windstar. I think they do a very good job, and I think the time was really good. So I would not hesitate. Again, maybe the experience would be a little bit different based on the weather or something, but I wouldn't hesitate to go travel in January.
You want to go back to Italy?
I sure do. I sure
There's
do.
so many more places in
Yeah.
Italy I want to go.
Yeah, tell Captain Tommy to get his boat ready.
That's far away to go from Italy, from Venice down to Bari or something like
Okay.
that. But
Okay, so
yeah,
you'll
we're
find-
definitely going back to Italy. There's still much more to experience.
Yeah.
I want you to see. And I was just a little taste for you.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm excited about it. So thank you for taking me to
Yeah.
winter Italy and Croatia.
Yeah. We'll be back and listen to our other podcast about, I won't spoil it, but our Get Off Someday Island podcast.
That was a lot of fun.
And you'll see where we're going next.
Yes. A little teaser where we're going next.
We mentioned it in this podcast.
Yep.
Mm,
Okay.
have fun listening to that. So anyway, this was great. Yeah, I'm glad we got to recap this and talk about our winter travels in Italy. Yeah. So you guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Let's grab our passports and let's go.
Let's get going.
Thanks for listening to Passport Required. Please be sure and join the Silverleaf Travel Facebook page so that we can connect with you. It is also a great place to share your own travel tips, experiences, and wisdom with the Silverleaf Travel community.
If you got something out of this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and also give us a rating and review. We always want to get better, and we will read all of your comments and suggestions for topics so that we can make this podcast the best resource possible. My name is Gary Covert.
And I'm Kim Covert. Thanks for listening, and thank you for being a part of the Silverleaf Travel community.